So yes, hello everybody and welcome to our first Design Leadership Africa and Middle East Fire Session. My name is Reinaldo and I'll be hosting this session with you this evening. If you're speaking from Cairo, it's 6 p.m. In my case, I'm speaking from Brazil, so it's 1 p.m. So I won't dare try to guess where we're speaking from. So just knowing that we're all over the world, right? We're gonna have very special guests this evening to discuss design leadership, and very soon they're gonna be introducing themselves. So welcome, and while you wait, could you please gently write in the chat where you're speaking from and the kind of designer you are. That's an odd question. Yes, for instance, I'm a learning experience designer at ECOS, and what I do is to design learning experiences. I love solving problems through creative, collaborative, and inclusive approaches. I love designing experiences for people to learn and share experiences. So my main goal is to foster the culture of learning and innovation in organizations. What kind of designer are you? You don't have to work with design, but to us, everybody is a designer. So if you could write in the chat what kind of designer you think you are, we would love to see that. A few words about ECOS. ECOS is an independent global innovation lab driven by design. So design is our mantra. We live and breathe and do business by design. And we branch out into three different business units. They are School of Design Thinking, ECOS Innovation Projects, and ECOS Ventures. And we deliver value by helping businesses create value and innovate for good. And we do this at ECOS Innovation Projects. And we also deliver value by helping people and organizations master the innovation mindset, skills, and tools at the School of Design Thinking. We currently have offices in 3 parts of the world: Brazil, Portugal, and Australia, but we deliver projects and courses worldwide. We have been impacting a lot of people. Over 100,000 professionals have been present at our campus courses or at our online courses, and we have more than 150 projects developed. And we are very proud to be part of the Global Design Thinking Alliance, which was formed by academic institutes all over the world dedicated to design research. We're here mainly because we are together to put this awesome, wonderful program called Design Leadership. It's a course aimed at designers all over the world to improve their skills in design and taking the seat of leadership in organizations and society. So it's composed of 12 global live masterclasses, 12 regional live practices, and you can be part of one global network. The program starts on 12th of July this year, and you can access the website if you want. Luna is going to share the website with you on the chat, and you can have more information about the course there. Whoops, just a second, let me go back to the presentation. Sorry about that. Great. So as I was saying, it's a 12-week program, and you're going to have different themes ranging from design leadership to listening deeply to giving feedback to your team and many, many others. So you're going to learn hard skills, soft skills with lots of top leaders, top design leaders around the globe. So we have 12 masterclasses, as I said, with global leaders, plus over 30 regional leaders that will be delivering live workshops, very practical, where you can take part and learn from these masterminds in different segments of the market. So with no further ado, let's start our talk. And I would like to open our session with a quote by Bruce Mau. Bruce Mau, he kindly gave us an interview to our podcast program called Desired, and you can access that on Spotify and see what Bruce Mau has to say about design leadership. He says that to lead is to envision the future and then systematically work to realize the vision. That is exactly what designers at their best are doing every day. Leadership and design are both processes of social influence that aim to manifest a vision of what is possible. Wow. So Hoda, now the floor is yours. Hoda Mostafa is going to be leading this session. She's our local ambassador for the Africa and Middle East region. She's director of the Center for Learning and Teaching at the American University in Cairo. Hoda, thank you very much for being with us here today. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Rinaldo, and thank you, Abdelhamid and Hanan, for being with us today. Abdelhamid is the founder and CEO of Rise Up, and Hanan Abdelmajid is the founder and CEO of Camelizer, an angel investment studio. I think most of us know who they are, and if you don't, you can find out who they are at their bios on the website. But I'm going to move right on into our storytelling session and start with a quick intro of why I chose Hanan and Abdelhamid to join us today. And as they start with their stories, I'd like you to spend a moment and reflect on how these journeys intertwine and where in this journey does design leadership actually emerge and intersect as they quickly tell you where their design leadership stories actually started and where they end, and also how we hope their journeys will evolve as we hopefully, as a group of people in Egypt and the Middle East, continue our journeys as design leaders, because this is a very young field in the region. And we've had many conversations about this, the three of us, and we're hoping that this group will grow and that the traction around design leadership will continue to grow. So I'm going to start with Abdelhamid and hand it over to him and ask him to start with a quick introduction of yourself and tell us a little bit about your story.
Thank you very much for the amazing introduction and for putting this together. And thank you very much to Ronaldo and the team for this opportunity.
Sarah, I think we have a sound issue with an echo. I can get an echo. Is everyone getting an echo on their end as well?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Let me check.
I think I just fixed that. You can carry on.
Is that better? Is that better now?
Yes, I think it's better, Sharon.
Yeah? Okay. I was thanking you, Hoda, and Ronaldo, Luna, and the entire team for putting this together. It's a real pleasure to really dive deeply into a topic that is very dear to myself and to my amazing friend Hanan as well. It's a topic that we talk about every single day, so something that we really look forward to. My name is Abdelhamid Sharara. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Rise Up. And basically, what we do at Rise Up is we're a platform to connect startups with the most relevant resources. Back in 2013, what we did was we worked with the entire ecosystem in Egypt and the region post the 2011 revolution to create this one-stop shop for all the resources that startups need through an event that is very collaborative, extremely crowdsourced, and most importantly, having empathy and design at its core, because most of our team was designers back then and up until now. So Rise Up is mainly a platform that does so. As I told you, back in 2013, the issue for startups in the region was how can I access investment? How can I connect with accelerators and incubators? How can I meet with service providers and lawyers? But there was no connection between those companies and this ecosystem, and this is the ethos of Rise Up being a platform. Moving forward, we scaled the platform to actually having multiples of events. Close to 40,000 people now attended all of our events. We've had more than 200,000 connections happening through that platform, and we worked with more than 52 nationalities. And throughout this period, it's been a very high, I would say, learning experience for me and for the team at RiseUp. We learned a lot about humans. We learned a lot about design. We learned a lot about leadership. We learned a lot about the impact of a lot of people coming together with a common vision and a common, view of how we can solve things, especially in such challenging times. I know we are in COVID times, which is challenging for the entire globe, but I think in the region we've been living in such challenging times for the past 10 to 15 years. So it's not really the first time we have curfew. So imagine this happening multiples of times, which added a lot of purpose and impact to our day-to-day job. That's shortly. I studied law mainly, so I come from a completely non-design-driven background, very non-empathetic. It's just purely boring background. But I decided to change my career eventually because post the 2011 revolution in Egypt, I realized that change cannot just happen top down. It's actually far more sustainable if it happens bottom up.
Right. So thanks, Abdul Hamid. I'm going to hand it over to Hanan. How does your story diverge, intersect, coincide, or differ from Abdul Hamid's?
We've been neighbors for a few years, me and Abdul Hamid Sharara, and we enjoy our conversations around design thinking, around the challenges that we discuss day in, day out. It's a pleasure to be in this session with all of you discussing this very important topic. I also try to, when I introduce myself, I always introduce myself as I'm a computer scientist from Egypt. And the journey that I enjoy the most is from idea to reality. And I've always enjoyed, I've seen, my journey started in 1993. I was lucky to be part of a very important Egyptian venture called Link.net. We started with 11 people operation. We scaled to 3,000 people operation, 17 offices across the region. And our kind of core ethos was deliver a digital lifestyle in our region. Around all the years, we've delivered a lot of firsts in the market. Our first online newspaper, Masrawi, our first food delivery, the Otlop, that's now Talabat. It's a lot of firsts that we've done that. And I would say that design thinking and thinking about the challenges and rethinking how can we deliver experiences, new experiences, was at the heart of our success. In 2014, and with the revolution, a lot of things, I've decided to step down and do Camelizer. I wanted to be, like Sharara said, we realized that change can only happen through the youth, and I was keen on being accelerator for other dynamos, more than being a dynamo in a big company. And I've established Camelizer, which is an angel investment studio. So we support seed stage startups to go from this seed stage to the Series A and grow their products and find their market fit. A lot of design thinking, a lot of challenges along the way, but it's so far a very exciting journey. And we've collaborated a lot. RiseUp is the real true platform in our region for the startup ecosystem, and definitely always a joy to work with.
Also great to mention that Hanan was the first, one of the very first true believers of this platform. And currently, as a disclaimer, we are actually partners. So she wears different multiple hats. One of them is a key hat on our board and as a partner at RiseUp as well.
All right. So we have a lot of questions for you now, for both of you. We'll start with the first one. And as design leaders in a field where design leadership is often not as clearly articulated as we would like, as people in the field who know that it's not clearly articulated, why do you think design leadership matters? And why do you think it should be visible? Or how would you define it, and how would you articulate it to others? Why do you think it matters? Hanan, do you want to start, or Hamid, jump in?
Yeah, I can. Design leadership, again, we've been having toying with everybody should be a designer. We are at a stage in life where the cost of technology and all the disruptive distribution channels of social media and a lot of things, you need to rethink and transform all the approaches that we're taking to solving our challenges. In our part of the world, we always say technology is a necessity, not a convenience, so that you consume a lot of services and so that you can deliver higher quality of life. In order to do that, definitely design leadership matters, because you need to kind of have a very clear understanding of the problems and the challenges that you're solving. And this is not an easy task. You need to seek answers, not no answers. So acknowledging that you're seeking answers is the first step in design leadership, in my opinion.
Adding to what Hanan just mentioned, I think the idea of design and leadership both coming together in one form brings two very distinct parts of the work. One part is about empathy and understanding and problem solving, which comes with design at its core. And the other part is about creating a better future, or drawing a vision of the potential of things and the potential of solutions for those problems. And I think there has never been a time in the world today that design leadership matters, and we can see on different levels how on a governmental level where it's applied. For instance, I'm going to be a little bit biased towards female leadership in this case, because this comes naturally with the empathetic part, and the governments that had women in leadership performed far better versus the COVID situation today than the traditional sort of method or view of leadership, which comes with charisma, with boldness and action taking on a far more superficial level than actually truly understanding the needs of the society and the people around you, which is a great element that both design and leadership bring together to the table. And I think this is something that has to be taught in schools that from day one, and it's not just as Hanan mentioned, a luxury to apply. It's a necessity, because we live in a world of billions of people, and every single action that a human being would take today really affects, especially with we're all now connected through technology and the internet. Every single action you take or you make, if you're not empathetic, but if you're not envisioning a better view of the world while taking that action, you might be hurting and damaging a lot, or actually missing on opportunities.
You also, when we were chatting, preparing for this talk, you talked a lot about why design leadership matters, and articulating that around this idea of a common vision, a common purpose, core values, bringing people together around something. So do any of you want to talk a little bit more about that? I know that Abdelhamid had some thoughts, and Hanan, I know you have some real life experiences with that as well.
Hanan, go ahead first.
Yeah, definitely for you to kind of put design thinking to action, clarity, probably always the second phase after developing the understanding is articulating and making sure that everybody's aligned on defining the same challenge, defining how do we measure this challenge, what are the key priorities. Yeah, one of the key things that you notice when you're trying to do something new, that it's very easy that people get lost throughout the way and try to solve other problems, different set of issues. So it's always good to kind of define the common grounds, define the common purpose, define clearly, and every time examine along the way, are we on the right track? Are we addressing the right set of problems? And for that, even when you assemble the team, they need to have sort of the same kind of the common goal, so that they don't end up kind of solving a different kind of problem. You'd find a lot of different talents within any challenge that you're solving. You have the creative, you have the developers, you have the different, even the real estate and interior design piece. If we're not aligned on what exactly we're solving, this is something that will definitely not have the correct result on the outcome. The definition phase is a very important phase for us to kind of realize an actual result and concrete result.
And then that kind of brings us to our second question, Hamid, which is around, sorry, I interrupted, but around scaling design teams, because I know you have a lot of experience with that, but sorry if I cut you off, if you wanted to add something to what Hanan said.
Absolutely. I was just a second what Hanan mentioned, because I think without purpose, without true north, we easily as groups get to tend to get lost. And I think this is the key initial phase, and what a great design is all about is identifying that sort of purpose and common values and vision at the get-go, at the beginning of the journey, which will take you, to your question, the second part, having and scaling this starts from the why part, starts from the purpose part, and then you start, with one believer, and then more and more we join, and if people are actually applying genuine and intellectual efforts into articulating the vision and common goals, it will happen naturally. And of course, a lot of effort has to happen in advocacy and in educating your team members into what the vision is all about. But also, the important part, as I mentioned from the first side, is that to actually lead by action. So it's an inspiring way of leadership rather than an authoritative way, as I mentioned, from a top-down perspective. And this is where, because today, especially at the young generation, the options are enormous, and people can do many things at the same time and have many options. But what would make them dedicate their time and effort into one thing is that they feel that kind of ownership into that side. But when it comes in a top-down way and a non-design driven, non-empathetic way, people tend to shy away from believing in that cause or making any actions towards it. So I think the very first part is the why. The second part is about the way you deliver the content, which has to happen in more of an inspiring way rather than just dictating or authoritative. And the third part is absolutely applying accountability, right? So after we're all emotionally attached and we're really believing in what happens, is that you look at the executional part and you start applying the measures of outcomes and results.
Yeah, I think you just answered Luna's question of how do we make sure we have everyone on the same page and understanding of the subject being solved, but also in the execution. But you took it a next step further, and I think you answered most of her question there in the chat as well. All right, I think we can move on to our third question, which takes it a little bit further in how design leadership can help us lead change and influence the kinds of, and I'm using business in its broadest sense, so business decisions. So in this question, what would be your advice to our audience, or your thoughts around this question? We'll hand it back to Hanan.
Yeah, I think I would answer this question exactly how I would answer also the question of scale. I think getting people involved in the process and getting people involved into what we're trying to achieve always makes it easier for everybody to change and to be sort of influence how they take decisions. Because sometimes getting involved into the problems, for example, I'm going to give an example like when we were trying to turn the AUC campus into a cashless campus, and you'd find some of the resistance here and there, and you onboard a lot of people by giving them convenience, incentives to use these things, by listening very clearly onto how you can spread the practice, and by also addressing the problems. When we were trying to deploy the cashless, you'd find some resistance in some of the stores. If you listen closely, you'd find that this is a problem with tips. It eliminates tips for the stores. So when you listen to that, you kind of find a solution and make sure that you have higher adoption. So getting people involved, getting the stakeholders, both the people that you're solving problems with and the business people involved, you definitely can lead and influence a lot the outcome. But that's making it very concrete for them is to live the problem and learn about it firsthand, not only in the meeting rooms. I would say these are one of the most important things, having green workshops with people that are living the challenges and wanting.
Take people along with you on the journey.
Exactly.
Hold their hand and take them with you. Abdelhamid, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I think I actually don't really answer this question in the best way. I think this participatory approach of change and how you change is a key element on how people actually buy into the vision and buy into things and execute. Because it's really a part of, if they're not participating and if they're not willing to share resources or time or opinions or even tips on what works or doesn't, it doesn't really work afterwards. The hurdles start happening after.
All right, I have more questions for you. All right. So when we talk about effective design leadership, we know that our entire ecosystem, or the country, the climate in which we function in the Middle East and in Africa, is most likely to be different than in other areas across the globe. And in every space there are barriers. So I mean, for the audience that's here, for people who are going to be listening to the recording, what are some of the barriers that you can see as design leaders in our region to effective design leadership? What do you see on the horizon as barriers to effective design leadership that we can identify together?
I can jump in quickly and say the barrier to anything is usually culture. And culture is really like, as the saying does, culture eats strategy over breakfast.
For lunch.
Yeah, lunch, yeah, right. And eats leadership over lunch, and then eats everything else over dinner, right? It's what really hinders and is the greatest barrier towards things, because culture is about mindsets and behavior. I think this is the key element that design leadership has quite a very strong differentiation in many versus other different leadership styles, is that it has this very soft power of and very discrete influence capability of changing people's behaviors and cultures in a positive format, by allowing them, as Hanan mentioned, to be participants of the process, in the process, by also helping them feel ownership of the vision and the common goals, by actually, and I think this is very, very crucial, especially when you're talking about teams and organizations. People want to achieve, right? Everyone wants to feel, at least even if they're not achieving, they want to feel that they added some sort of value. And a lot of the cultures that organizations sort of inherit over years comes because of lack of effectiveness and outcomes and the results, which then would create such a barrier. You know, it's like this is not going to work, or this kind of negative mindsets happen because they actually didn't work for them. And by helping them create outcomes and achieve things, even the smallest bit of an outcome,
Wow.
then they become on board of the process.
Success stories and small wins kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have two questions that are kind of related, and then I'm going to maybe jump to Hanan and might spark some more ideas about how we can use culture as an ally rather than a barrier. So over to you, Hanan. These are this is really interesting, getting interesting, more interesting by the moment.
I think getting the culture as an ally is making the process a bit familiar. I would go back to the getting involved. It's like people are always scared from what they don't understand, and when you get people to be informed at all the steps of the chains, be be a player in it. It's not going to happen. Change is not going to happen without their involvement. This is where you get the culture to be kind of your ally on this one. It's very important to set some ground rules and transform the language and the mindset while you're approaching the problem. It's acknowledging that good ideas can come from anywhere. That we're seeking the answers together. We're not kind of knowing or forcing anyone to the answer. So we're going to learn through the conversation and throughout the process. All of these is something that kind of you set the ground and have this as a common culture for the people to kind of onboard towards the common ground or to the common goal. In my experience, whenever you have, you lower the barrier by getting people informed, by getting them with the right in the right mindset. These are all things and tools that can really make the journey much faster and can allow you to discover ideas from all parts. It's like it's a totally different. Listening is a core skill in the design process. Yeah.
I also have something in the chat.
And if I can add to what
yeah, go ahead, Abdul Hamid. Go ahead. No, we have a lag. Go ahead.
No, there was sorry. Yeah. I was just adding to what Hanan mentioned. I think this is an overarching thing that I think today the job became much tougher for leaders than it was before, because the teams and the organizations are quite far more informed, which is a great thing. That, don't get me wrong, it's not a negative thing, but it applies that kind of pressure on you that, you know, you sort of always need to be performing at least in the top 20% of your performance, which, because people also build over assumptions. They see other leaders over Instagram showcasing, you know, a very small part of or a very small story of their success, but they don't showcase, or the tip of the iceberg, right, of their success, but they don't really showcase what happened, you know, to reach there, what entails to be on the top of the mountain. And I think this keeps this constant pressure, because they portray that pressure on themselves as teams, but also you know, on you, and they keep comparing with a virtual view of you as a leader all the time, and you always need to ground their you know, perspectives, and at the same time, we had a theme for the summit before, which is aim high but stay grounded, right? Which was the idea of really thinking big, but also, you know, don't forget that there has to be 1 and 2 and 3 to reach up to 4.
Thank you. That's great. And it also, I think, kind of leads into our final question for the panel, and then we're going to have lots of time for questions, is again, going back to design leadership, how organizations can use design and design leadership to accelerate innovation. So now that we're hopefully entering into this, I'm going to call it not the para-COVID era, not the post-COVID. We're in the kind of, how should organizations use design to accelerate innovation as we move forward? Based on all the great ideas you've said so far, how could you kind of wrap that up in some takeaways before we move on to the questions?
Sure.
You want to pull up the question?
I think Hanan is the expert on that. So.
Partially, in my opinion, in this day and age, design thinking and design leadership is like a competitive edge. You can never survive if you don't have this. And I think in the COVID showed us that all the organizations that were thinking ahead and were transforming themselves, these are the ones that came out more resilient and moved ahead of the curve, while others really suffered, although they have all the kind of tools at their hand. Ideas it's very important in an organization. Again, the humility, the mindset,
human-centeredness.
Human-centered. It definitely it's like the customer journey is a very important element, and the people who are managing every touch point with your customer can add a lot of ideas and can generate and transform the whole formation of your product. But that's a very important, even in branding, everybody is now discussing all of these journeys. So this is something that no one person can really imagine. It's all the functions that's in the organization that are contributing to this. So it's very important that you break the silos. That's a very big, for you to install the design thinking within an organization, you need to break the silos. You need to kind of have this consistent, persistent communication across of all the challenges. You don't, transparency is a very big thing, you know, because this is something in a lot of organizations that we've lived in at some point or another, where people don't talk clearly that there is a challenge. Acknowledging failure or acknowledging a challenge inside of organization, it's again, it goes back to the humility. Okay, if you are okay saying that we did something that is wrong, short of its results, it's very important to install this transparency, because at this point, corners, because you've got people involved, you've got them in the thought process. So that's an important transparency and humility. Will definitely get organizations to be much, much more innovative. And again, it's a survival tool. It's not like an icing on the cake in this day and age.
Thanks, Hanan. I'm going to print that on a t-shirt. Transparency and humility, and go to work with it. Front and back. Let's sell them. We make. I wonder if we'd make. I'd wonder if we'd sell any, but I mean, we'd sell 3 for the 3 of us at least.
You know, I have a statement that I always start with my meetings, especially the ones like as a parent, as a leader. I stopped kind of pretending that I know everything. You know, it's very difficult to know everything. So every time I start a meeting, I respect my ignorance. Please, let's start discussing. So respecting my ignorance is kind of an opening statement that I say in the meetings when we brainstorm.
Yeah. I agree. Sharora, Abdelhamid, want to add anything?
No, I don't, but I think Hanan, I want to pinpoint was something that Hanan mentioned about transparency, and I think this is a key value in organizations. But the challenge with that is usually to which extent you can be transparent, and also how can you convey transparency.
Yeah. How do you
the
message
media.
it? How do you message it? What's the message?
Exactly. Yeah, because I can tell you that, for instance, and I'll take that to a very far away from organizational level. If you think about someone who's suffering from depression and that doesn't speak out, right? Uh, Sometimes speaking out is great for them, but also at some point, sometimes speaking out is about vulnerability and to the wrong person as well, and in the wrong way, and that can actually turn it around and hurt them far more. Taking that sort of example and applying it on an organization is how can you create systems to constantly share information, because for instance, if we are doing well all the time as an organization, and then suddenly the leader comes and says our iceberg is melting, it can cause panic and fear rather than actually gathering people towards solving that soon, or it can kill the trust, confidence. Sorry, apologies.
Or demotivation, or others.
Yeah. So I think sharing, being transparent is both an art and a science combined. I think it takes a lot of effort. I think I really admire people who always are able to constantly apply that, especially that as we are humans, we're always thinking that we're like one type of mindset, but within the organization, you would be very surprised that every single person has their own understanding of information and data, or their own circumstances or moods or whatever that would influence them receiving, whether positive or negative. I'm not talking about just the negativity part. I'm talking about, I think this is an issue on communication at large, not just the transparency side that leaders need to tackle through designing systems, that are solving for that cause.
No, I agree. And I think when you were talking, I just thought of something around these kinds of paradoxical statements in communication, or counterbalancing things. I think we talked about this as well. So when you communicate something with a counterbalance, so you're transparent about the reality of the situation, but there's a second part, there's another part of it that counterbalances the message, and that's always important. It's almost like giving someone half the message. And I think this is important in design leadership, particularly because you are sharing information, you're bringing people into the process, it's participatory, it's a journey, it's not top down. So because of its complexity and because of its participatory nature and because of the knowledge sharing, it requires, like you said, it's much harder to do. It's easier to do it top down or to give orders or to be prescriptive. It's harder to do design leadership. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, great. We do have some questions in the chat. Hanan, did you want to add something?
In transparency. No, I was just going to comment on Sharara, the transparency and the danger also of the transparency. I have a term that I always use. There are layers of transparency,
Well, I was trying to point that.
How can you handle the truth? Kind of. There are layers of transparency, and there is timing, and there is packaging. So if I tell you it's a very big problem with a very big smile, even the indicators that you give and the call to action that you give coupled with the information, I think we all kind of play the fine balance in these elements, I guess. Yeah. I totally agree. It's a dangerous
I think that's a pillar of good design leadership.
Yeah, there's a term also that I think comes also here, and not just about information, but when you talk about culture, which is meritocracy. And I think this is what every design-led, leader or a leader with a design mindset has to opt for, because it's not just about autonomy or people, being on autopilot, or like in Amazon, where they empower the frontliners to make decisions with customers. This is not just this helps daily on preserving customers and making them happy, and being an execution driven organization. But meritocracy is where the power, I think, of the many would happen, because you would find, the anyone inside the organization capable of throwing an idea, but also acting upon it, and being empowered upon it to and execute it, and then transform the entire business model to the best format, right? And I think if the leaders are not listening, as Hanan has mentioned, and they're not allowing creativity and innovation as core to the culture of the organization itself, they would miss out on the best ideas I'm talking at large scale organizations that actually really can help them either being resilient or endure or grow in many sites. And I think Apple is a great example globally, but I saw also Fawry in Egypt, a fintech company that has just launched multiples of products that are really growing to a few $1 billion valuation business today. And when I asked them about how are you guys capable of launching so many features and so many products and those kind of things, is that they actually meant the answer of the CEO was that he listened to a couple of the people who were in the team, and those were the people who had this idea, and they just created an office inside the company itself that basically focuses on entrepreneurship and taking new business models for Fawry, because they know at some point they will run out of ideas and they will run out of people who would come and spill over those ideas, but they need to create a system to constantly have that, not just as one-time luck.
Great, thank you both. All right, we have a few minutes for questions, and I'm going to hand it back to Rinaldo. But I have a question for everybody, and maybe we can all just pop your answers in the chat, and maybe from what you've heard today. My question for you all is, from what you've heard today, or your thoughts coming into this session, and maybe you've changed your mind, can anyone be a design leader? So what do you think? Put that in the chat for us. And why or why not? And if you'd like, maybe one or two people can open up their mics or their cameras and let us know what they think. Got a couple of people here, and then we've got a question from Malak Al-Qadim as well that I'll read out, or if Malak wants to read it out herself. What do you think, until some people get some activity in the chat, Sharara or Hanan? Do you think everyone can be a design leader? Anyone can be a design leader?
Theoretically, yes. Hypothetically speaking, yes, that's true. But reality has taught me this is my personal opinion, that not everyone can be a leader. Not everyone can be a designer. Everyone can try or can actually apply those sort of principles to their daily decisions. But I believe also that that we cannot streamline one sort of thinking across all the aspects of humanity, and I believe so much in diversity that is needed alongside design leadership. I think there has to be also systems that can at some points overcome the flaws of such a system that exists.
Hanan,
I think
can anyone?
We are born perfect with a great potential design leaders, and we are, but sometimes along the way we lose that. I'm really happy that we're having always the conversation now, the design thinking as a skill, and it used to be kind of a mindset. And personally, I used to select the people that I work with or mingle with to be like-minded people like Sharara, and these are the people I can have conversations with. These are the people they are design leaders in our society. And even some people are extremely capable, but they have this ego barrier. They have their priorities not sorted out in the right way. So this prevents them from being a participant. Theoretically, yes, everybody can be a design leader, but in reality, this is a skill that needs to be taught and talked about so that everyone realizes that this is something that is a tool for life, you know, a tool for better life. Let's put it this way.
And if that was true, I think we would have never had this session in place, right? and all the design, thinking and design leadership institutes and schools that are, even though the culture has, drastically grew in the past 7 to 10 years, I think, and thanks to organizations like ECOS for doing so. But I think this is still very, very, very little if you compare it to other, existent or pre-existent leadership styles and leadership institutes and all the previous business thinking that is still stuck in MBAs and those kind of rigid models of managing things. It needs a lot of push and a lot of education and a lot of culture into it so that we reach it and sort of normalize it.
Well, we've got a couple of people who are saying it's for some people, and some people are saying no in caps. So hella. So I think that there's a difference of opinion, but hopefully this is the first of many conversations here in Cairo, Egypt, and in the Middle East, and it's just the beginning. And I know we're committed. We've already kind of made a pact of commitment and bringing in more people. Thank you both. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot as well from you both. I'm always learning from you both as friends and colleagues and partners in crime. So thank you very much. And I'll hand it over to Ronaldo. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hoda, for the amazing moderation. Thank you, Hanan, as usual.
Thank you, Sharon.
Great. Thank you so much, Hoda. Thank you, Hanan. Thank you, Sharara. It was a great talk. Many powerful insights, great conversation. And if you believe everybody can be a design leader or not, it doesn't matter. You can come and follow our program. I'm going to give you a few treats now for you that stayed until the end of our session. So stay tuned for this last bit. Have a quick look at this short movie talking about the program.
Hi.
Hello. What's going on, everybody?
Design Leadership is a program to help you shape your abilities and skills to be an effective leader and helps you to take design higher up within the organization. You will learn through 12 global masterclasses taught by 12 globally renowned design leaders.
Throughout the last decades, we have been observing how service design is moving upwards.
And now more than ever, we need new tools and new leadership.
And 12 regional workshops where you will connect and network within your region, learn from local leaders, and practice your design leadership. Learn how design can create cultural change, how to shape better design teams, and how to lead delightful products and services. This program was designed to help you reach the next step and realms of your design leadership journey. Join from every region and learn from other design leaders globally and locally.
Hi.
So for more on the program, starting on July the 12th, you can access our website or talk to Luna. She's here in the session. You can drop her an email and she'll be happy to give you more information about the course. For a special treat, 20% off for you that stayed until the end of this session, you can use this QR code or the code that is being shown on the screen, and it's valid only through 28th of May, which was this weekend. So you have till the end of this week. We're extending this coupon towards the end of this week so that you can use it and grab your 20% discount. Also, if you want to download our ebook on design leadership, you can point your mobile phone to the screen and download it right away. So once again, and don't forget, we have more fire sessions coming. There's a global fire session number 3, scaling up design teams, on June the 9th. And then we're going to have in Hispanic America, what is design leadership, June the 2nd, and the Asia and Pacific fire session, what is design leadership, June the 16th. You can join them by using this link that is on your screen. So once again, thank you so much to our panelists, everybody that was present. It was a great pleasure to see you all and hope to see you in the program very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very
Bye,
much.
thank you. Thank you, Ronaldo. Thank you. And thank you, everyone. I can see some familiar names. If you want to open up your mic, if you have a question that you couldn't answer, we can hang around for a few minutes, 2 or 3 minutes. I'm sorry if I missed some of your questions, but I'll hang around for a few minutes. I can see some familiar faces and names. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Hanan and Sharara.
Thank you, Hoda, so much.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.